Tonight, one day after the U.S. imposes sanctions on Russia for hacking our election campaigns, Putin turns the other cheek, shocking Russia watchers. But equally shocking, Donald Trump's response. We will analyze. Then can and should elected officials be removed from office for being racist? You won't believe what former GOP gubernatorial nominee Carl Palladino wrote to prompt the question, or what the rules say and don't say about axing him. And we take one long last look back at 2016, the year in news and in sports. Good evening and welcome to the final RFL of 2016. I'm Andrew Whitman, in once again for Richard French. One day after the U.S. imposed sanctions on Russia for hacking the U.S. election campaign, Russia's reaction was unexpectedly nice. Vladimir Putin passing on the chance to react in kind, as he seems content to wait for the changing of the guard at the White House.
The clock is ticking for 35 Russian diplomats. Intelligence operatives told to get out of the U.S. by Sunday.
They have to pack and leave within hours.
The Obama administration taking forceful action against Russia for its alleged role in the hack of Democratic Party leaders.
О том, чтобы объявить персонами нон грата.
Russia's foreign minister recommended his president, Vladimir Putin, return the favor and kick out American diplomats. But Putin said no, choosing not to retaliate for now, after President Obama also slapped sanctions against Russian intelligence agencies and shut down Russian compounds in New York and Maryland, where we've already spotted moving trucks.
I don't think it's a new Cold War, Paul. I think this is more like a Cold War 2.0, and it's been going on for several years.
But it appears Putin is ready to hit the reset button with President Trump, accusing President Obama of trying to undermine the next administration. Trump, who's still doubting the findings of U.S. intelligence that Russia was trying to meddle in the 2016 election, praised Putin in a tweet. Great move on delay by Putin. I always knew he was very smart.
I find it fascinating that Donald Trump said it's time to move on from a cyber war, an active cyber war with Russia, but he actually can't move on from a bad restaurant review or not winning an Emmy Award for Apprentice.
Before Trump even takes office, congressional hearings on Russia and the cyber threat are being scheduled. The head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, John McCain, announced next week intelligence officials will testify on Capitol Hill. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
So that's the latest, but we want to focus on the reaction to both the U.S. sanctions and the whole Russia hacking thing from the soon-to-be president. Here's what Donald Trump said yesterday at Mar-a-Lago.
I think we ought to get on with our lives. I think that computers have complicated lives very greatly. The whole, age of computer has made it where nobody knows exactly what's going on.
And once again, the tweet that he just put up a couple of hours ago praising Putin, great move on delay by Vladimir Putin. I always knew he was very smart. And by the way, Trump pinned this tweet, making it the first tweet that anybody who checks his Twitter feed will see until he decides to untweet it. So to use a phrase I suspect I will be saying a lot in 2017, can someone explain to me what Trump is doing? Here to try and explain to me what Trump is doing, Scott Vanderhoff, former 5-term Republican county executive and co-chairman of the Palisades Institute of Dominican College. Mark Furnish is an adjunct professor at the Elizabeth Hobbs School at Pace University, and he's argued before the U.S. Supreme Court and on this show many times. And Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. So let me start on the right side of the table.
What, literally and figuratively.
And figuratively, in this case, both. Yeah, is this somebody who's insecure that maybe investigating the hacking by Russia might somehow delegitimize his election? And by the way, it's not like we've ever had attempts to delegitimize a president, i.e. Obama by Trump.
This is, really stupefying to me, the Democratic outrage over Russian meddling in United States domestic affairs. Where was the president and where were the Democrats the last 8 years during the annexation of Crimea, during the incursions in the Ukraine? You know where they were? They were actually outsourcing the dirty work in Syria to Vladimir Putin. So the Democrats have empowered this man. They've emboldened this man after having drawn a red line in Syria, erased the line, and delegated it to Putin to do it. So this is the Democrats'
fault, is what you're saying?
No, it's absolutely a work of fiction, this manufactured, feigned outrage over Russia's bad behavior.
So now you don't believe the CIA or U.S. intelligence agencies?
It's completely immaterial. They have had 8 years to stop Russia, to be a bully, to be tough, to hit Putin back. He has done nothing, Obama, except turn tail, gotten played by Putin, and given Putin, empowered Putin to
So darn,
Create
they
the Donnybrook in
influenced
Syria.
our elections. What
Where's
are
the
you going to
beef?
do? It's the
Where's
Democrats'
Where's the
fault.
beef? Release the intelligence. Look in the mirror. Look at your own failed foreign policies. Look at your own ineffectual candidate. That's why you lost the election. Simple.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that's why.
It's nonsense.
That's why
This is
Hillary
a
Clinton lost the
this is a
election.
non-story.
We're dealing with a different issue now, which is
There's
how
no
do we
issue.
respond to a country,
He made a
somewhat hostile
symbolic
country.
gesture, which is what he always does, with 23 days left in his presidency, when he had 8 years to make real inroads with Russia, and he completely botched it
Scott?
completely.
Or blotched it. Either one might work. I take a slightly different tack. I think it's important. It didn't change the election, so everyone should let that go, okay? But the fact that they attempted it, and there's enough evidence to suggest it.
Well, we don't really know that.
Well, I mean,
he hasn't released
look,
any of it.
Look,
Let him speak. Let
you
Scott
either
speak.
trust the FBI and the CIA or you don't. If you don't, that's fine. I happen to trust them. I don't think
It's his
what bothers
FBI
me.
and CIA,
What bothers me,
though,
though, Mark. Let
Obama's.
me finish, okay? Yeah. What bothers me is the reaction, okay? Trump lives in the electoral world. I mean, all he's really interested in is who said what about whom during the election. And the fact of the matter is, we're beyond that. He's beyond that. He's now president-elect. Right. And he's got to get a grasp. I know he's listening to me and he'll take this advice. He's got to get a grasp on the reality. Instead of saying, I'll do us all a favor by looking at the material that's come in from the various agencies, he should be every day. He should be part of that, okay? The second part of it, and I agree with Mark on this, I mean, the fact is we're trying to be nice to everybody, okay? This is not a nice world out there. You got to be tough in some cases. So this is not the wrong action. Final point, I think a lot of folks are wondering what's going on with Putin and Trump. I mean, go way back and to suggest all the suggestions about, this nice going back and forth. Positive sides, okay? We need to work with Russia on a lot of efforts. We've got to do certain things. Negative side, I don't trust Putin as far as you can see him. Whatever he says is basically incorrect. He will find ways to really come back at us as a result of this. It just won't be public.
I agree with that. I think a lot of this will get aired during the Tillerson confirmation hearings, and I think maybe we'll find out about more what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, also,
and by the way,
we're going to get the report that the Obama administration is working on
may get the
about the interference in
Just
the
a
U.S.
quick
election.
thing on Tillerson. That actually is a good appointment in this respect. If you talk about oil, you talk about Russia, that's where it's about. He understands that. That could be very favorable.
Dominic?
I almost don't know where to start. I disagree with Mark. Excellent lawyer, but to make the point that the Democrats dropped the ball on Russia, I mean I counter that, Mark, with I believe it was Lindsey Graham that said 99 senators, bipartisan group, believe that Russia is behind this and support some type of action. That's not just Democratic.
This is a symbolic gesture. He's had, as I said, I'm not going to.
He who? Because you said he lost the
Obama
election.
and the Democrats.
But you also said
This
he
is
lost
the
the
worst-
election,
this is
Mark.
the worst.
And the last time I checked, he was a very popular incumbent. He didn't lose anything.
He's very
a flawed
personally
candidate. Hillary Clinton lost the election.
No, his policies lost the election.
His policies?
You have to distinguish between his personal popularity, which is undisputed. He's a superlative politician, and his policies, which are deeply unpopular, and also the fact that Hillary is an ineffectual candidate. Look, what he did, having drawn the red line in Syria, then erased it, then outsourced the job to Putin.
What does this
has
have to do
qualify.
with the hacking into the campaigns, Mark?
Because what he's doing is focusing on, with 23 days left, a purely symbolic gesture when he had 8 years to really face off with Putin and
what
push
would you
him
have
back.
said if he'd done the same thing 3 months before the election?
I
That he's
don't-
tilting
I really
the scales
don't-
for Hillary
I really
Clinton.
don't- there's
and
no
he would have heard no end of criticism from that regard. Damned if he does, damned if
As
he
my
doesn't.
colleague just said, whatever Russia did or didn't do, that didn't lose the election for the Democrats. The Democrats lost the election.
I'm sorry, not nobody. Very few people are saying that this is what
Sour
caused Hillary
grapes.
Clinton to
We're
lose
not
the election.
relitigating the election. We're moving forward. We're going to have a president now who's going to deal with Russia in a different way. Whether he gets played by Putin or whether he repairs relations with Putin will remain to be seen.
What
Putin
level of
should
interference?
not be
What
underestimated.
level of interference into this country's operations would it take
There's no
for you to
proof.
actually take Putin
I would
seriously
have to-
and
I-
say it's time to actually get
Oh, I'd
involved?
take Putin.
Would he have to screw
Listen,
up the
let me
courts?
tell
Would he
you
have to
something.
screw up the
I
legislature?
take Putin seriously as a heart attack, which is why this president's out. He left the fox to guard the henhouse in Syria in the worst foreign policy
you keep bringing
blunder
up Syria.
of probably
You keep bringing
since
up
the
other
Vietnam War.
Obama-related issues when it comes to the relationship with Putin. We're talking about the impact
Obama
on this
does.
election and what the Russians did, what the Russians have done
impact.
across Europe, what they're trying to do now
spied
in
on
Germany.
we spied on the Israeli government during peace negotiations there, and we spy on foreign governments as well. Show me the proof where there's a proximate cause between anything Russia did and the results of the election, then I'll
quickly
stop.
No, it's not a question of proof on the election. The question is they hacked. Okay, there's proof they hacked.
And we
by the way,
foreign governments all the time.
and we hack also.
We do.
But they did it in a place that democracy considers sacrosanct.
President
And the fact
Obama,
exactly.
President
And the
Obama
fact is,
interfered in the elections
This
in
is
Israel.
not the Supreme Court.
He
Let
interfered in the
let the other
elections
guy
in
the
talk.
Supreme Court wouldn't let him talk like
No,
that.
they wouldn't.
No. Go ahead.
Oh no!
But not only that.
He interfered in the Israeli domestic elections. It's the pot
Thank you for letting
calling the
everybody
kettle
else have a
black.
turn.
But so Russia meddles in the election, and let's not forget they had someone urging them along. Remember what Mr. Trump said when he urged them to continue if they could find anything?
So, first of all, the exercise is one in pure conjecture until we see what the intelligence is. Nobody here knows. Nobody in the country knows.
And
We're
you
just
won't. And you
taking-
won't know.
No, we won't.
You will
because
not
it'll be
know.
classified.
That's correct.
And it will be redacted.
So you
Let's
believe?
see.
You
Where's
believe
the beef?
Intelligence agencies, or you don't?
I don't. And nobody believed it when Comey
it is-
opened his
I-
mouth
I know-
either.
I
They
know
blamed him
that's
then
the
too.
point. But it is rather convenient for the incoming president to go, let's let this be bygones. I mean, all of this benefited
I
him.
agree with him because it
Hey,
is an
do you
extra-
think Putin
Here's the
benefited
thing.
on his behalf because he likes
There
Donald
is
Trump?
no,
Here's
there
the
is
thing
no,
about-
there is no thing. We're moving on. And we're moving on to China, where preparations are underway for their new year, which happens on January 28th. The Chinese are preparing to celebrate the Year of the Rooster. And so this 23-foot-tall rooster statue has been erected outside a shopping mall in the northern city of Taiwan. Now, no one is saying this is in fact done in the image of Donald Trump, but okay, I'm saying this was done in the image of Donald Trump. It is, after all, going to be the Year of the Rooster, and if you want to check your thesaurus to figure out the joke I'm not allowed to make, have at it. The question is, could this be a sign of expected relations between a Trump-led U.S. and China? And because we ran over on our first segment, we have very little time to talk about this.
Well, what are we going to say about this?
Yeah, I
about
don't
this
think
It kind of looks like Donald Trump.
I don't see the connection. I mean, a little bit,
Well, the
teeny,
guy
teeny,
in Seattle who
Put it
made
back
it
up.
said it's
Put it back
made
up.
it's made to
It
look
kind of
like
looks like Donald Trump.
I guess if we're dealing with the hair factor,
Yeah.
then yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right.
It's
Just having
a rooster. I mean, it's a chicken. So
It's a Trumpian
What's
rooster.
your next subject?
There is no. That's it for this segment. I just wanted to have a little fun. By the way, Mark, didn't want to talk about Israel tonight because I was afraid you and I were going to fight over it. So
There's
I'm glad
nothing to fight
I'm
about.
glad that
There's
worked out
no-
with no
there's
fighting
nothing
on
to
our
fight
panel.
about. It's an outrage.
Up
We know
next,
that.
former GOP gubernatorial nominee Carl Palladino has always reveled in being politically incorrect. But after his answers to a questionnaire prompted many to call him an outright racist, the question is, can he be booted from his job as an elected school board member for writing racist comments? The answer may not be as clear-cut as you think.